Right, welcome ladies and gents. Alien Romulus trailer dropped, or the teaser trailer dropped yesterday. What a fantastic teaser it was. And I did my sort of reaction and breakdown of it. My thoughts, my Easter eggs, the things which I noticed, which I thought, which I theorised. And then Fede Alvarez, the director, did his own. So we're going to take a look at that because he also reveals some interesting tidbits of sort of what inspired it. He spoke to James Cameron. He sort of opening deleted scene of Aliens inspired some element of this universe that he's expanding upon. He also confirmed one of the things which I thought, which was in that trailer. It is an early pulse rifle. It is an early pulse rifle. All these things are very, 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 very positive. They pull my optimism sky high, and it's nice to be excited for something for a change. So, hey, let's dive into this. Hit subscribe if you're new here, guys. We're going to be ramping up a lot with these sort of thoughts and theories to do with Alien Romulus, because this is what actually founded the channel. Alien, and the hype surrounding Alien Covenant back in the day. Oh, were the days. But we're back, and it's nice to be excited for something. So, like I said, hit subscribe if you're new here, and turn the bell notifications on. So let's go. So we're going to be looking at two bits of interviews today. Just the start of one, but then we're going to look at the transcript of another with Games Radar. So let's take a look, ladies and gents, because I think you're going to be really excited and interested about this. I am personally anyway. So I thought we would take a look at this one first. This is over on avpgalaxy.net. Please do check them out. But let's take a look at this first.
I tell you one story. You love this. Like when I had a chat with Cameron early on, when we started to write the script, we called him just to ask him the very specific question of what did it mean by another bug hunt, if the Marines had encountered xenomorphs before now. And he told me about his experience showing aliens for the first time. And Cameron goes like, well, we show up there and no one makes a sound for most of the movie. And then when Ripley comes out with a power loader and says, get away from her, you bitch, the whole theater explodes. And that's when he knew for the first time that he got it, because he thought he was terrified. He thought he didn't have anybody, and the movie wasn't working. And at that point, he had everybody. And when we showed the movie the first time a couple of weeks ago, it was kind of the same. It was like it was a fly blade.
Right. So anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much, but it's nice. He's sort of consulted with James Cameron. Some interesting things is he did also reveal the name of the film is Romulus. Because the space station has two modules. One is the Romulus module, and the other is Remus. Obviously, originates from Roman myth, and also has a dual meaning with certain plot elements as well. So that's interesting. The name of the space station itself is the Renaissance Station. So it's the Renaissance Station, but Remus module and Romulus module, which is interesting. Now, we're not going to take a look too much in the other stuff, favorite shots, time frame of the setting, etc., because there's this here, which is a Games Radar interview. And he's asked, the first thing anyone watching the new trailer will be struck by is how your film's retro-futuristic production design recalls the Nostromo. Is it your hope that Romulus will feel of a piece with Ridley Scott's Alien? It says this, it was the era I was most interested in when we were thinking about making this movie, and we're suddenly faced with so many choices. Where do you start? That's what I wanted to be. That era of science fiction, and particularly that physical space of the first movie. So it starts there, honestly. And there were narrative reasons why. It takes place 20 years after the first film. Technology in the world of Alien can change vastly, but I think it's not dependent on time. It's dependent on place, where you are. Now that's interesting. So the characters of this movie and the world are very blue collar. The technology is still very low tech and analog. And look, I'm a kid of the 80s. Any monitor with some VHS tracking issues puts a lot of joy in my heart. Love that. That's amazing. He says, just like anybody else, I've been appalled by bad CG in movies that have ruined my experience of it. But I'm not against it. I think you have to do whatever's best for the shot, and whatever technique does it better, you should do it. We went to crazy extents in this movie to do things practically. We had Weta Workshop doing a lot of the facehuggers. And not only that, we brought back the guys that worked on Aliens. Shane Mahan, who sculpted the Queen's head himself, that's amazing, genuinely amazing, was one in charge of building all the xenomorphs for our movies. And when I say build, we built them. We did full animatronics for all the creatures in the movie. It was one of the best experiences in my career, just to see these guys that I admire so much back working together. There were moments when we'd need 9 puppeteers, holy shit, to make a creature work. And you had all those guys, now in their 60s, under the table, and I'm there with them because there's not enough hands. I got to be under the table, puppeteering these things with the guys that worked on the original Aliens. So that's been the best part. And then CG just comes when you really go, oh, if we do something here, we could do something really cool that the puppets never could. And you go there. But we really tried, and we really succeeded. I love all of this, by the way, guys. I love all of this. Now here's where he reveals that it is an early version of the M41A pulse rifle in the trailer. It is a pulse rifle. You have to think that our movie is decades before Aliens. So the pulse rifle, as people know it from Aliens, has not been invented yet. We can go really deep into the canon rabbit hole, but the pulse rifle was invented a few years before Aliens by this general. So this is a precursor, but it's technically pulse technology. What she's holding, and yes, of course, the story called for a moment when she was coming out of an elevator, and obviously you don't just walk out of an elevator casually in an Alien movie. So when we were about to do it, we all knew if you walk out the elevator, it better be an incredible shot. So we took a lot of care making sure that she stepped out of the elevator in the coolest possible way. And he also discusses some stuff to do with the inspiration, right, comes from Aliens, which I really love this. There seems to be a lot of care here. So he says, she's a younger character. All the characters are very young. That was inspired by the beginning of the extended cut of Aliens. There's a shot that really inspired the whole story, where you can see all the kids running around the corridor of Hadley's Hope. I always thought, wow, what would it be like for those kids to grow up in a terraforming colony that still needs another 50 years to be habitable? You're probably going to take the same job as your parents. What's the hope? I thought, wouldn't it be great to catch up with those characters? Not exactly those characters, but that type of young kid growing up in a Weyland-Yutani shake-and-bake colony and see how their life would be when they reach their early 20s. What do they want out of life? Do they want to stay there and do what their parents did, work the mines, work the farms, and that's it? Or do they want more out of life? That's what and that was what kickstarted the whole journey of this character. It was something that I always was fascinated with. Maybe it's because I'm from Uruguay, and the idea of growing up in a place where you know how far you can get, and the things that happen there, and the things that will never happen there. So at the time, I always connected with those characters. That's an amazing quote. And then he spoke a little bit with the Hollywood Reporter. And says, right after Don't Breathe, I had a meeting at Scott Free, Ridley's company, and I think they were about to start doing Alien Covenant, and I mentioned something that I would love to see. I said, I hope this movie has some of this, and that, and this, and he was like, oh, that's interesting. What would you do with it? No one was actually asking me to pitch. Believe me, it was more that they were intrigued about what I wanted to see as a fan, and I was like, I think you guys should do this and approach it this way, and maybe it's about that, and suddenly I was pitching, but I was not really being asked to do it. So that stayed in the air there somehow, and then a couple of years later Ridley remembered that, he knew about it, and he was like, Fetty had pitched this thing, so they called me back and said, hey, remember that story you mentioned? Do you want to write it and direct it? And I was like, fuck yeah, and here we are. This is all great stuff, by the way. I'm loving all of this. And he also discussed some things about Ridley Scott seeing it. It says, as intimidating as it is, that's the best part of being able to work on something like this. For all of us and whatever it is that we do, the dream is to sit down with the masters of our craft and have a conversation about what we do and learn how to do it better. And the process of making this film definitely gave me the experience with Ridley at the story level. We first told him what I was planning to do, and then he read it. I discussed the script with him, and later, when he watched the movie, I discussed my cut with him. So I considered each one of those moments and creative conversations with Ridley to be a highlight of my career and my life. James Cameron is also someone I've met through the years, and when he learned that I was doing it, we started chatting about it. So I also had that conversation with him at the script level. He's now seen the movie and he loved it. It's also fascinating because Cameron and Scott's notes and comments are completely different. They wouldn't repeat a note. Whatever Ridley said, Cameron said something different. They were all super smart comments, notes and thoughts on the film and the filmmaking, etc. But both of them have completely different approaches. So the fantastic part of being able to make this film is to have chances to work with them. That's great. He also discussed something about Kaylee Spaney. So she's amazing talent. I met her a few years back. completely by coincidence. And then just discussed, basically just said she's great and she'd love to jump aboard, etc. It's not that interesting, quite frankly. And he also says about the shot that was revealed as a disgusting shot. So he actually says it takes place in the teaser's first shot. There's a tiny hint in there, and it has to do with that scene that Isabella talked about, which is great. When you manage to have an idea or concept that has been seen before that has not been seen before in any Alien movie, and it's also something that was never happened before in the history of movies and science fiction, my first test usually, when I shoot it, is to just look at the boom mic guy. He has no idea what's about to happen, and then I see his face completely in shock over what he's witnessing. So that is, for me, the biggest reward. And when you know that there's something special, then you just can't wait for opening night. I'll sit in front and turn around to see people's reactions to those moments. What a bloody fantastic interview, or interviews. What do you think? M418 pulse rifle, Hadley's Hope kids, growing up, what do they want to do? Obviously they don't want to stay on that world. Love this interview. I think this is incredible. And we will be back with some thoughts and theory videos moving forwards. Some of it will be from the leaks, which I know about personally, but it'll be about my personal thoughts on those leaks and how it connects moving forwards and how it expands the Alien universe. So if you like this stuff, hit subscribe. Cheers guys, take care. Bye bye now.